Welcome to this explainer. If you're really focused on understanding what makes human beings tick, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're exploring an absolutely paradigm-shifting psychological concept introduced by Alfred Adler. We're going to look closely at individual psychology and really unpack this core idea called social interest. And let me tell you, this isn't just some minor footnote theory. In the Adlerian framework, this is literally the psychological cornerstone of the human experience. Alfred Adler once noted that social interest is the true and inevitable compensation for all the natural weaknesses of individual human beings. I really want you to think about that for a second. He's framing human weakness, which we all have, right? Not as some sort of personal failure, but as a completely natural, inevitable problem that every single one of us faces. And his solution? It isn't to just isolate yourself and toughen up. No, Adler's focus on the collective we, this social interest, is the ultimate psychological solution to our individual frailties.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap. First, we'll define social interest, then look at measuring mental health, explore the 3 life tasks, evaluate the theory, and finally, discuss Adler's revolutionary legacy.
Section 1. Defining social interest.
Before we really get into the mental health side of things, we kind of need to demystify our core terminology here. At its absolute foundation, social interest is defined as a person's sense of belonging to the human community coupled with their innate drive to contribute to the common good. It's a big idea, so let's actually unpack the original German term for this.
Okay, bear with me. That big, intimidating German word is Gemeinschaftsgefühl. It roughly translates to community feeling, but Adler's intent here was so much broader than just basic social interaction. It encompasses this really profound feeling of being at home in the universe and having empathy for all living things. So the crucial point to remember is that while this is an innate potential inside of us, it doesn't just magically happen automatically. It has to be consciously developed and nurtured. And where does that happen? Primarily through early family dynamics. It literally all starts at home.
Moving right along to Section 2, measuring mental health. So now that we've got the concept down, how do Adlerians actually use this as a practical yardstick for wellness? Well, they do it by looking at our goals. A healthy individual's goals are socially useful, you know? They seek significance through contribution. They actually want to add value to the world around them. Conversely, maladjustment is viewed simply as a lack of social interest. It's when the drive shifts toward personal superiority rather than the collective good. It creates this incredibly clear, almost hero and villain dynamic between healthy societal contribution and unhealthy self-centeredness.
And that brings us to this fascinating concept Adler called private logic. When someone lacks social interest, they start operating on this private logic, basically pursuing goals of personal superiority that do absolutely nothing to benefit the collective. They're out there playing by a set of internal rules designed only for their own elevation, completely ignoring the needs of the wider human community. In Adlerian theory, operating on this selfish, private logic, that is the fundamental root of psychological maladjustment. Which leads us to Section 3, the 3 life tasks.
Because here's the thing, social interest isn't just some abstract emotion that you feel quietly while sitting in your room. It is a highly active principle. And it's evaluated by how we navigate 3 fundamental life tasks: work, friendship, and love. I actually want you to ask yourself right now, how are you navigating these 3 distinct areas in your own life? Let's move to the next step and see exactly how this builds systematically across these 3 arenas. First up is work. In the Adlerian view, work is not just a way to collect a paycheck. It's a vocation that contributes to society. Second is friendship. This has nothing to do with popularity. It's entirely about building meaningful, cooperative social bonds. And third, love and intimacy. This isn't about dominance or submission, but rather about creating a truly respectful and egalitarian partnership. These 3 areas are the testing grounds where your social interest is actively practiced and ultimately measured. Now for Section 4, evaluating the theory. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how we weigh the evidence. Like with any major psychological framework, we have to look at this critically. We need to objectively weigh the merits against the shortcomings to figure out the real-world application of social interest. By breaking down the data, we can impartially examine its huge strengths right alongside its limitations. Let's just go row by row here. First, a massive strength is that it's non-pathologizing. By focusing on concepts like discouragement versus encouragement, it totally avoids the heavy stigma you get with traditional medical models. However, and there's always a however, the limitation is empirical measurement.
Gemeinschaftsgefühl is so broad and so subjective, it is notoriously difficult to measure objectively. Next, it offers a fantastic ethical framework, right? It links personal happiness directly to social contribution. But on the flip side, we run into cultural subjectivity. What's considered socially useful varies wildly from culture to culture, which leaves a lot of room for a therapist's own personal biases. Finally, the strength of a holistic perspective, really understanding people within their social context, is countered by the critique of vague definitions. Critics argue the whole concept is just a bit too metaphysical and lacks the precision you really need for rigorous scientific analysis.
Finally, Section 5, Adler's Revolutionary Legacy. Even with those valid scientific critiques we just talked about, Adler's impact? It's completely undeniable. He caused a massive paradigm shift in the field. He successfully moved the entire focus of psychology away from just the internal, biological drives of the individual and pointed it toward the interpersonal and social responsibilities of the citizen. Because of this shift, modern movements owe him a huge debt. Both positive psychology, which focuses on human flourishing, and community psychology, which looks at social environments. They're both built directly upon Adler's insistence that our wellness is deeply tied to our contribution. So Adler's legacy essentially tells us that we are only truly well when we are contributing to the we. I want to leave you with a really direct question based on everything we've unpacked today. Take a hard look at your daily routines, your work, your friendships, your relationships. Are your daily goals serving the me or the we? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.